A young girl named Yuki tells a fantastic story at the start of the movie. People make fun of her because of her implausible story. Hana, her mother, fell in love with the wolf in this story. Her mother was a Tokyo University student. She stumbled across a mystery boy she had never seen before in her school one day. With his tattered apparel, the child stood out in the class. When class was over, the guy went without filling out his attendance sheet. Hana pursued him, but he responded coldly, telling her he wasn't a university student and that she shouldn't bother. Hana continues to ask a boy to return to class and share her textbook. Hana and the guy both work to earn their living. Over the next several days, the two form an odd bond, with Hana sharing her textbook with him and allowing him to access university facilities under her identity. They had a lengthy discussion and exchanged several questions. She explains that her father called her Hana after a flower because he wanted her to smile despite life's challenges, much like a flower. They spent more time together and began to anticipate each other's arrival. One night, the youngster expresses his desire for a home, a place where he might feel at ease. Hana slips in a sly remark about how she might fit in there, if he doesn't mind. When Christmas arrives, Hana rushes to their normal meeting point. But the guy isn't there. Hana sits in the cold for hours, wasting her time. The boy finally appears and apologizes to Hana. He leads her to the top of a hill and asks her to close her eyes before transforming into a wolf and exposing his true identity. The youngster belonged to a race that mixed human and wolf blood. Hana promises to never leave him after they make love. They begin to live together, and their lives become more lively. From shopping to eating, they do everything together. Hana discovers she is pregnant, and she carries the pregnancy alone, for fear of what the hospital staff would do if they found out about the father. Hana gave birth to their first daughter, Yuki, as the snow poured outside. They promise to do everything they can to make their daughter happy. Hana gives birth to a boy, Ame, the following spring. It is pouring on the day Ame is born, and the family's father walks outdoors, but does not return. Hana gathers her children and leaves to find her husband. She stumbles into several rescuers who are removing a wolf's body from the river. It is him. He died while looking for fresh meat for his infant son. Hana couldn't stop crying as they put his body in the truck and drove away, not letting her get close. Hana vowed to look after their children by herself. She had her hands full looking after two wolf-human hybrids, which isn't an easy task. They alternate between wolf and human forms, causing havoc around the house. Hana and her kids have no idea how to proceed. Hana must discover everything on her own, such as how to care for the children when they are sick, or how to deal with their identity. People become suspicious of Hana and her children as the trouble escalates. The landlord even claims that dogs are not permitted in the building. Hana plans to go to the farm so that her children will have more freedom as they mature. She chooses an old, deserted house in the middle of nowhere. Hana is enthusiastic about staying there, despite the fact that it appears to have been through a battle. She restores the property entirely on her own. She does everything herself, from carpentry to roof repair. Throughout it all, she has the children swear that they will never change in front of others. And there you have it, their little secret. Things were finally looking up, but they began to run out of cash. Hana makes the decision to study gardening so that they may become self-sufficient. She plows the fields and plants seeds, but the harvest is poor. She tries again and again, but the outcomes are always the same. Hana decides that the children should learn to hunt so that they will have some basic survival skills. Yuki is the first and picks up hunting quickly, although Ame is bashful and uninterested. Ame breaks down in tears one day and declares that he does not want to be a wolf because wolves are usually the evil guys in picture books, and they are always slain in the end. Hana comforts Ame by stating that she likes wolves. A new crop of plants eventually withers. Nirasaki, an elderly man from the neighborhood hamlet, comes to Hana's house to inform her that she isn't made out for this life, and then drives away. Hana is discouraged, but Nirasaki sends his daughter over to assist Hana with some seed potatoes. He starts coming up to Hana to teach her how to cultivate veggies. He might be a little gruff, but he teaches Hana a lot about farming. Soon after, more members of the village begin to arrive and to assist Hana. Two guys approach her and instruct her on various aspects of farming. They explain how to keep pests away by planting specific crop combinations and how to utilize fertilizer appropriately. They quarrel more between themselves because of their differences, yet they still support Hannah a lot. Hannah begins to form stronger bonds with her neighbors and discovers that she lives in a welcoming neighborhood where everyone is willing to help one another. She reflects on how moving to the country may have been the best move she could have made for her children. Ame slips and falls into the river one snowy day as they are playing in the forest. However, Yuki saves him from drowning, which brings up a painful memory for Hannah. She recalls how her children's father died, and she sobs when she discovers Ame and Yuki washed up on the bank. Yuki reaches the age of going to school after a lengthy winter. Hannah agrees to let her leave after she does everything she can to persuade her. Hannah agrees to let Yuki attend school, provided she swears not to transform into a wolf in front of others. Hannah works as a conservationist to help support her children. After some time has passed, Yuki realizes that she too is different from the other females. Yuki is catching snakes while they are out in the field picking flowers. Other girls weren't gathering animal bones or mummified lizards either. Yuki resolves to be more ladylike in the future and to adjust to her new school life successfully. Ame, on the other hand, is having problems fitting in. Yuki had grown into a responsible young lady in the past, while Ame was completely uninterested in school. Hannah began driving Ame to her work at the conservatory as he drifted away from school. He begins to spend more time in the forest. On the other hand, Sohei, a new transfer student, joins Yuki's class. Sohei notices that Yuki is different from the other girls. Yuki begins to avoid him after he comments that she smells like she lives with a dog. Sohei confronts Yuki one day and asks whether he did anything to irritate her. Yuki becomes agitated and changes into a wolf, damaging Sohei's ear in the process, despite her best intentions. Yuki is summoned to school for his behavior, but at the meeting, Sohei claims that it was a wolf, not Yuki, who attacked him. This absolves Yuki of any responsibility and silences Sohei's mother. Yuki apologized to her mother for what she did, saying she didn't mean to act that way. After a few days pass without Yuki attending school, Sohei visits her at home to see how she's doing. He puts their day's schoolwork in the doorway and walks away without saying anything. This pattern continues as Sohei continues to bring Yuki's schoolwork and food. Hannah invites him in for a drink one day, and he tells her that he doesn't want Yuki to stop going to school and that she wasn't the one who injured him. Sohei and Yuki reconcile and become close friends in the end. Ame has been spending more time in the mountains in the meantime. He informs Hannah that he has a sensei who teaches him all he knows about life and lives in the mountains. Ame declares that the person he addresses as sensei is actually a fox. As Ame draws closer to his inner wolf, the fox teaches him everything he knows about living in the wild and becoming an animal. Yuki and Ame have an argument one day over whether they are wolves or humans. The two were unable to come to an agreement, and their quarrel has left the entire house in ruins. Hannah strives to accept the truth that her children are maturing and beginning to forge their own paths. Ame has been spending more and more time in the mountains as time has passed. There was a record number of storms one year. Ame's sensei wounds his leg during one of the storms. Ame returns home to inform Hannah that the forest requires a new guardian and that he must be replaced. Hannah attempts to encourage Ame not to go because he is still a child. A strong downpour hit the area the next day. Due to the inclement weather, Hannah is summoned to pick up Yuki from school. While on call, Ame slips out of the house to see the mountains. Hannah attempts to follow him out in the rain, but the weather is too harsh for her. She attempts to communicate with him, but he does not reply. Hannah gets down and starts weeping after failing to find Ame. She tumbles and falls over a cliff, seriously injuring herself. Her final thoughts before passing out are about safeguarding her children. Sohei and Yuki are the only ones staying at the school. Yuki tells Sohei that the wolf he saw that day was indeed her. Sohei claims that he knew all along and that she no longer has to be concerned. Yuki is relieved and expresses gratitude to Sohei. Meanwhile, Hannah gets a vision of her children's father complimenting her on how well she raised their children. He further claims that Ame is now an adult who has discovered his calling. As she passes out, he encourages Hana not to worry about him any longer. Ame brings his mother to a secure location and then walks away silently. Hana yells his name, but he flees. As the dawn rises, Ame growls, and Hana understands that he's back where he belongs. They exchange glances as if they are both aware that this is their final goodbye. Yuki moves away the following year to live in her junior high school's dorm. Hana grins as she recalls the years she spent raising her children. Yuki understands that she may leave because her mother is content on her own. Hana is still living alone, but she is content in her old country cottage. She'd occasionally hear the wolf's home and grin again, remembering her family. Thank you for watching. Please like and subscribe to this channel if you find it interesting. We look forward to seeing you at the next upload. See you!